Call the meeting to order. Thank you for being here tonight, and we have a few items of business to take care of, and we'll go ahead and do that. If you would, let's stand for a pledge. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Phyllis, do you do the roll call, honey? You're gonna let Ben, you're gonna do the roll call. Okay, sir, would you call the roll?
Okay, roll call. Delia Goodman? No. Bonnie Urban? Here. Will Hutchinson? Mark Lee? Diane Patterson?
Here.
Josh Upham? Here. Jennifer Watson? Here. Marvin Whitworth? Here. All right. We have enough to meet quorum.
We do have a quorum. The minutes are on your iPad from the 9/13/22 meeting. If you have looked over them, I'll accept a motion for those to be approved. If you haven't, please look over them real quickly and approve the minutes from last year. Your motion, Bonnie.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from September 13th, 2022.
Patterson has made the motion to accept the minutes as presented. Do I hear second?
I'll make a second.
Thank you. Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes as presented? If not, those who approve the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion to approve the minutes has carried. We'll open the floor now for any public comments that anyone would like to make. And I think that's appropriate that I tap the gavel, but I see no one in public to come, so I'll close the public comments and we will move on to the, election of officers. Ms. Sheila, are you to operate that?
I think so.
Ma'am.
So I need to open the floor for nominations for the chair for the committee.
I move Ms. Delia continue as chairman. Can I do that? I can't do that as chairman, can I? I can't do that. I don't like to be chairman. That's the very reason. But anyway. Pardon?
Okay, I need a motion for the chairperson.
Got to make the motion. I can't.
Okay, into your microphone and make a motion. Okay.
So the motion, I make a motion that we elect Delia to be chairperson.
I second that motion.
Okay. I'll take a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everyone approves unanimously. Delia will be our chairperson for next year. Now I need to open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Marvin, you've been the vice chair. Are you still open to do that?
I really don't care to, but
Okay.
I don't mind. I mean,
Don't
you know,
care.
if anybody else will do it, I would be glad to move over to the side and let you do it.
Mr. Marvin, you're doing such a great job, so I make a motion that you be vice chair.
Okay, I need a second.
I second.
Jennifer Watson seconds
Y'all are my
that.
friends.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The vote passes unanimously. Marvin, you will continue to be our vice chair.
Do we need other officers, Sheila?
No, that's it.
Are you taking the notes, or is
Ben will be. Ben and Phyllis will take the notes.
a note there that I did not vote on that? Abstained.
You abstain.
I didn't know, I didn't. Okay, we're ready now for item number 8, the public hearing for the MS4 annual report. Is that you?
I do believe so. We only do this once a year, so it's kind of like get the cobwebs out and figure out what we're supposed to be doing. This is not playing live, but they do record it, so we can go back and people can watch it if they have questions about our meeting or what we did. The first point of public comment is just a formality that the state says we had to do. So that comment session was just for people that had signed up with the mayor's office and wanted to comment. This public hearing will be for our annual report. Our permit says that we're supposed to have a public hearing, and I guess typically I usually go over the annual report, just kind of hit the highlights and let you guys know how our year went. That's kind of what we normally do. Let me, you guys have a copy of the annual report on your iPads. I'll throw it up on the screen. We have a new system now. TDEC is requiring us to put into a new portal. It's all online. EPA required this, so TDEC has mandated that. So the forms look a little different now. There's really no way to print the report, but this is the best we can get out of their system, and it's a print preview of what will be submitted. I've not submitted it yet. I will submit it after this meeting. It is not due until the end of September, but I will go ahead and do it probably next week. So basically they just change it to where this is just information about like who we are, you know, Mayor Carr, and then we have to put in our public education. So they've kind of changed it to where we used to give you guys kind of a fun overview of what we've been doing for education and outreach. Now it'll ask us how many activities we did. We did 10. We did 4 activities overall with education to the engineering and development community, and our online education software migrated to a new My Benefits channel, and so I wasn't able to get all of that completed and done, so the employee training didn't get done this year, but we are on track to get it done next year. I've already been working with OIT and HR to get all that working again, and she's got, I think, most of it done. We just have to get all the solid waste employees and highway department employees into the system. So we're well underway to get that done. Now the reporting kind of looks more like a little spreadsheet that we fill out, and it just kind of will give you guys a snapshot of what we do, what we've been doing this year on a very minimalistic level. We are required to do 6 events for education and outreach and 6 events for participation with general ed, storage, and you can read the things at the top: SCM, BMP maintenance, storage use, disposal of fluids. That's used oil kind of programs out there that would do education about not dumping your used oil down the drain, illicit discharges, not allowing things that shouldn't go into our water systems to go into the stormwater. So it could be anything from dry weather screening to people dumping paint, anything like that, but we're going to educate them not to do that. So we have a great program we have set up. We work with City of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, Smyrna and Laverne, and we have Miss Bonnie who works for us, and she does a wonderful job. She does a lot of outreach events every year. We do way more than the 6 minimum, and our items are things that you're going to see on the screen and in your report. We do Earth Day every year. That's the big festival on the square. I also are required to do SEM means stormwater control measures. We're required to do education to people who own those, which a good example for the county would be ponds. So we do pond inspections, and then we send out violation letters, and in those letters I attach information on how to maintain that pond structure. So this year, I sent them out to homeowners, churches, businesses, and HOAs. So I had a variety of different audiences that were targeted with those letters. So that meets 4 of those of the 6 I'm supposed to do. But really, the permit starts to be enforced for next year, so we're just ahead of the curve. These aren't required this year, but they will be required next year. We do Tree Day. That's an awesome event we work with the city, and we hand out trees to people so they can get them planted in riparians, and we send out letters to homeowners. That also has education that goes with it. We do an urban runoff every year in Nashville, where it's like a festival, so we have booths from any number of things. So we provide education about basically everything to anybody who shows up, which is anybody from a homeowner. We have engineering groups, TDOT, TDEC, Corps of Engineers, you name it, we've got them there. We do Waterfest each year. We have over 1,000 kids that show up. So these are elementary education, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. We have a huge festival that goes on at Old Fort Park. We also do June in the Creek. Those are a little more one-on-one with kids and families. And we just talk about macroinvertebrates and the health of the streams and just kind of get them in the streams and do little test kits with them about the water. I've been going to the farmers market. That's been actually really productive and very well received. We do booths at farmers market. We talk about anything from flooding to illicit discharges to macroinvertebrates, which are the teeny tiny bugs, and the health of the streams, to I don't know, you name it. Bonnie and I go and we talk to everybody that shows up. So that's been very productive. We also have, Bonnie does our Project WET classroom education program. And so it goes on throughout the year, and we work with teachers and students about water education. We also have a website that got quite a bit of hits. We had over 3,000 hits on that, and our social media got over 3,000 hits this year. I think we can do way better than that next year, but you know, we'll see, hopefully. I'm working towards some Facebook posts that haven't gotten done yet. That's always been my goal, get a little bit more social media going. So then we have another portion of it where we have to provide outreach to the engineering and development community. We do, I hosted 34 pre-construction meetings this year. That's where this falls, and that is completely 33 different targeted group of people. So really that's 34 different education events within itself. We do small lot EPSC to builders. We do stormwater education and planning to the Planning Commission. I came and talked to those guys, just kind of told them what the program was, and then we do website education, so I can count that when people interact and get education about, they go through there to set up their pre-construction meetings, and it's got all kinds of education on it. This is just where I've uploaded it into the portal, so just ignore all that. TDEC asked us a whole bunch of questions. Is your plan online? Yes, our plan is online. You can go to Rutherford County Stormwater, and basically everything in my stormwater management plan, I try to keep everything on there and up to date. If you see something that's not, feel free to give me a shout and say, hey, you're missing some stuff. But everything should be on our website. And that's part of the new permit. It's required to be on there. So I actually did it last year as soon as the permit came out. And we were working through the draft. I was like, well, this is coming. Let me go ahead and get it done. Was the program formally placed on public notice? No. We aren't required to do that till, I think, is it next year before the annual report, Josh? Next year before the annual report is due, we will have to place our whole program on public notice. It's a requirement of the permit. We'll deal with that next year. Is the information on construction sites accessible to the public? Yes. You can also go to my website, Stormwater, Rutherford County Stormwater, and there's links on there that take you back to the planning and engineering page that links you to the SharePoint and all the projects that are coming through Planning Commission. So if people want to go look at that, they can see what's coming up, they can see when the meetings are, and they can email me direct comments to me if they have stormwater comments. This is also a new requirement of the permit. Pretty easy to fulfill because the internet makes it super easy to do all these things. We really only got a couple of illicit reports throughout the year. We always go out and investigate them within 7 days. That's what we're required to do. And we are super busy, as you can tell. This is basically the same thing. This is just the participation portion of what we do. So it's the same exact, mostly, events that we did for education. We have a few more that are just really done with participation. We do litter cleanup throughout the county. Our correctional workhouse does that, and they give me their numbers. We also do a household hazardous waste event, which is coordinated through our solid waste division, and they give me their numbers. So we count that in for good education for clean water. We, this is just the participation part of what I talked to you guys about before about the engineers and developers and builders. Same thing on that. Let's see. So we had 80 active construction sites going on, and we reviewed 153 new development and redevelopment projects. As you can imagine, what did I say, 34 pre-cons, 153 projects, 80 sites. We are still super, super busy. I come and tell you guys that every year. We are still buried, covered up, and super busy. We inspect all of our priority sites, which is all of our sites, every month. I have one inspector that does that. He stays very busy. We do not do in lieu of, so we can skip through that. We had 31 sites that had 100% of our stormwater control measures were built per the specifications and approved, which means we have as-built drawings on all of those. We have long-term maintenance agreements, and we have as-built drawings on those. That is required in the new permit. We were already doing it, so we easily meet that goal. For people who haven't been receiving as-builts, that's going to be a very big learning curve for them. Do we have the legal authority to do all these things? Yes, we do. We have our stormwater ordinance that some of you guys sitting here helped create many years ago, and we just keep making it better. We have an enforcement response plan. We do have all of our stormwater control measures, which are mostly our ponds, in a tracking systems, but we don't have them in one consolidated tracking system. And TDEC says I'm going to have that. So that's going to be a lot of work. And it has to be done by the next permit due date. So I have a new position in the budget, so hopefully they will help me get all these extra things completed. We inspected 93 facilities for our operation and facilities and maintenance plans. That's required in the permit. We are not making any changes to our notice of intent, which we submitted already and got approved. They asked for a summary of enforcement actions. We do give out verbal warnings. We give out written warnings. So basically, we ended up having 22 total enforcement actions this year. Most people we have a pretty good working relationship with, so if we tell them to fix it, they'll usually fix it, because if not, they know there's going to be a violation coming. A lot of our violations that I see mostly are people who started work without a permit. So it's typically not the development people, it's just random people here and there working without a permit, filling, grading, doing things on their property they didn't know they needed to get a permit for. We did some monitoring this year. So we did, here's a summary of some things we did. My summer interns are amazing. Shout out to them. They are college kids, and they all went back to school and left me alone and sad, but they are fantastic. I had 5, and they did a lot of sampling. We did 6 streams, and you have to do those times 5, so they did 30 sets. Well, let's see, was it 30 for them? Somewhere around there, maybe 50. I think it was 50, because the 6 streams are the benthics. So the first thing you're looking at up top was actually we contracted that out to a firm in Cookeville. They come in and they pull bug samples. So this is different than taking E. coli samples. So my kids did the E. coli samples, and a consultant out of Cookeville did the benthics. So they do the kick test, they get the bugs, and then they count the bugs to see how healthy your streams are. We actually had a couple of streams that were not bad on the scale, which Lytle is so heavy sediment laden. It's really hard to get good bug numbers out of some of those. And Stewart's Creek has really high E. coli, so it's really hard to get good bug numbers out of those. But we got a couple of really good bug numbers, so I'm pretty excited that there's that much living in our creeks. Let's see how many we did. We did 5 streams. Yeah. And then we looked at several of them. I went out in I think April and May to review some of the sites, and they were already dry because we had a very dry start to our spring. And so we couldn't sample, and usually it's like the little tribs that dry up first. So we weren't able to sample a lot of those. But I put all that in the report, uploading that, I'm sending it back to TDEC, and hopefully they'll be excited that we got this much sampling done this year. This was a big undertaking. We've never done this ourselves before. So we were pretty excited to learn to do it and get it all figured out. But I have some pretty smart college kids working for me, so. Then we have to upload all this information into the portal. So you're seeing all these attachments. Those are just our attachments for our benthics reports, which is the bug reports, our map, VSA map of the county. That's of all the things that the interns went out and did inspections on throughout the stream. They walk the streams and they take samples and they take pictures and they do all kinds of fun stuff. Also had to upload the Excel file that has the geometric mean E. coli sampling on it. Let's see. And if you guys have any questions, you can raise your hand or turn your mic on. You got a question? Sure. No, I don't believe it is, no. No, we actually had, last year we did human, and I can pull those for you, but we had Dr. Bailey do source tracing, is that what it's called? Tracking, source tracking, and none of it was human. We did it for I don't know, I think 3 or 4 sites, and one of them was Stewart's Creek, and it was not human, it was animal. So it's pretty much animals and feces in the stream that are causing the high numbers. What I want to do is a little more additional sampling up from Stewart's Creek. So there's a couple of locations if I go further upstream, in front of where I think the locations are that are having the heavy wash that the E. coli is coming from. And if we pull good samples from that, then we can kind of start narrowing it down and figuring out which sites it's coming off of. We could approach those. We could work with the soil science people and approach those people and be like, look, I mean, we've got the numbers here. This is where it's coming from. You know, would you guys be willing to work with us to try to get, some of this out of our streams? Could we, work with them to provide additional trees, to plant trees and make a better buffer? Are there things that we could do to work with some of these people? But until you start really having money and time and working on these, it's really hard to do by yourself. So hopefully by next year, we'll have some more information on that. That's our goal. Hopefully we'll get there. There's a lot, as you can imagine. So really they kind of put a new thing in here. We always summarize our results for our permit, but now they're wanting us to do self-audits, which is all new, and it's never fun giving yourself a self-evaluation, right? It's like, how is your overall health? Well, I didn't exercise today, so maybe I didn't do so good. You don't really want to tell people that, right? Same thing with your program. I didn't really want to do a self-audit, but here we go. We're required. We struggle to keep up with our requirements from plans review, construction drawings, planning commission, and plat review take up still a tremendous amount of our time. It leaves very, very little time for other requirements. We make sure that all the projects submitted meet the requirements set forth in our ordinance. Like I told y'all, our training program is didn't succeed this year, so we'll be fine for next year, so I'm not worried about it. We're still working on getting all of our online stuff working for review. That's still not all done yet. And CityWorks and OnBase, that's still a process in that, but we do use Survey 123 and the GIS stuff to our advantage and helps track everything very easily. We were doing every single pond every year. Per the new permit, we can do it once every 5 years. So I backed those off so that we could get all the sampling done. So we're actually doing less sampling on that. We're doing less inspections on those. But we are still meeting the permit need. And if we think this is not a good idea, then we can, maybe split it into every one of them every 3 years or something a little bit more if we think it's not a good idea, or if we're seeing a lot of them being not maintained. We will have to organize the pond data. It's due by the 2025. Our summer apprentices are amazing. I don't know how I would survive without them. And our education outreach plan is still wonderful, and our coordinator does an excellent job. Let's see. So, are you in compliance with your education outreach? No, we are not. We did not meet the training module requirements. We did not meet our training requirements. Therefore, we are not in compliance with that. Are we in compliance with our public involvement participation? Yes. Illicit discharge program? Yes. Construction program, runoff control? Yes. Post-construction? Yes. Pollution prevention, good housekeeping? Yes. And our monitoring? Yes. We have 5 years to get our monitoring done. So we still have 3 more years to finish up any monitoring requirements. So we have plenty of time to stay in compliance. Are we overall in compliance? No, because I had to put no for our training program. So not so much, but we will be next year. I'm not too concerned about it. And then this is just where we upload all the attachments that go with everything I showed you guys. So do y'all have any questions? I know it's a little bit different, so I just kind of wanted to go over that with you guys.
Are there any questions for Sheila?
Yes, Sheila, you may not be able to answer this, but if you had to, I guess, estimate what percentage of your detention basins are compliant and in good shape, if you just had to assign a number to it.
So far, since I've been there, the most letters I've ever sent out was like 10 or 12 out of like 400. So most of them, from what we've seen, are in compliance. I have 3 letters to send out this year, and that's out of a fourth of them. It's probably, so maybe 4 out of 100 on average. So we usually get really good. I was surprised. When we first started doing it, I thought we would have a lot more unsatisfactory inspections, but they weren't. So I think it's because we have HOAs and maintenance agreements, and the neighborhoods are taking care of them, so they get maintained, which is great.
Ms. Sheila, I'll ask a question. The streams that we tested, do they all originate in Rutherford County? Could there possibly be issues coming into the county?
The ones we looked at, yes.
My geography is not great, so.
The ones we did, yes. They're all in the county. Some of the little tribs that we didn't, because they were dry, some of those do. Actually, we are the originators of those. So most of those drain down into, say, the Harpeth, drain down into the Duck, out into the Stones, out into, what's to the right? So Duck, and then to the right.
We drain into Percy Priest Lake, too.
Yeah. But like Jarman, there's a bunch of little, out Las Casas way, there's a bunch of little tribs up and out to the really, really far out east of the county. And so they start in the county, but then they go into another county. So they go into Bedford County, they go into other counties. So we're kind of where they start, and those were actually dry. Most of the things we have really do start with us. Even the Harpeth starts, where the beginning of the Harpeth River starts out in, Eagleville. Lytle starts with us and then goes to the city. So Josh is sitting here, so that's why I'm giving him a hard time about Lytle Creek. It's much better shape in the city than in the county. Most of them.
All of them start then in the county.
Most of ours are in our county, yeah. Like Memphis and places like that, you have a lot of large rivers and streams coming in and through their county, Shelby County. They have a lot of issues with that, and a lot of erosion because of the sandy soils out there. So they have a lot more difficult task ahead of them. And I mean, they'll have embankments 20, 30 feet tall, washed out. So their streams are just very different than ours.
Sorry, but I just wanted to blame our problems on somebody else.
I know, I wish. I mean, there's a few that interact and overlap up in like Smyrna, Stewart's Creek, but it's us, and then it goes into Smyrna. And then Olive Branch, it's us, goes into Smyrna. So Olive Branch kind of circles around, yeah.
Any other questions or comments on this topic?
Let's see.
Are you ready for buffer zone requirements?
Are you ready for buffer zone?
I don't know.
Are you ready? You're going to be ready because these are good. Let's see. Let me find them. I've got everything in multiple. Is this buffers? Yeah, water quality buffer zones. So MTAS just came out with our, oh wait, you have to close the public meeting right? When did we close the public meeting, Phyllis? Yeah, you can, it was just on the annual report, so we close it on that.
Okay, I'll close the public meeting.
All right, now we're back on the agenda. The next item on the agenda is the water quality buffer zones. I can't find my agenda, so I'm looking for, oh, here it is. Put it over here. Okay. So we have to have our ordinances and everything in place by next when our permit is due. Is it next September, Josh? Next September? I think. Well, mine was 2 years from when they approved it. I think it's like September. Anyway, we're going to end up having to do ours sooner than that. I think we'll probably have a special roll call meeting in, say, April or May, because it'll have to go through different readings through the commission. So we're looking at having ours done by April or May. So we'll have to have a special call meeting with you guys. We aren't approving any ordinances today. Today they're just drafts, so you guys can take a look at them. That's what y'all wanted last time. You wanted me to kind of go sketch up some drafts. This was required in our implementation plan to have some drafts ready. MTAS has a model ordinance that they're going to be sending out, and that's going to be helpful with our ordinance. I think we have a really strong buffer ordinance already, and it was in really good shape. There's other places that didn't meet the minimum, so they are required to upgrade their buffer policies. We've continually made ours better. Initially, we had, just very simply, we had it was based on square mile. So if the drainage area was greater than 1 square mile, it was a 60-foot buffer. If it was less than 1 square mile, it was a 30-foot buffer. You know, and then at some point I came back and asked for stream buffer signs, and you guys voted that to be yes. So we've continually kind of we've really kept our buffers really, really strong. TDEC has come back and added in the possibility for, if you don't want to use certain square mile features, you can use whether or not the stream is impaired. You know, I should have brought that map up to show you guys. If I can do that. TDEC says they require in their general construction permit that you have a 30-foot construction buffer on a healthy stream, and then you have a 60-foot construction buffer on an unhealthy stream. Let's see, is it this guy? Hopefully I clicked on the right one. Yeah, so you could have brought this up earlier. This would have helped you, right? We're talking about streams, here we go. So this is Rutherford County. Let me kind of drag it in a little bit. Roll it out. Let me turn off a couple of things here so you guys can see it a little bit better. I'm going to turn off monitoring sites and then permits. So those were all the permits that TDEC has permitted in our county right now. Doesn't that make you want to go, wow, okay, so those are all the TDEC permits. These are construction projects in Rutherford County that TDEC has permitted. For the most part, they're construction projects, but I mean, there's other stuff like operating permits for water systems, septic systems, you name it. So anyways, we'll just turn that off. We're not focused on that tonight. We'll move on. But what TDEC says is all these streams that are red, for the most part, should have a 60-foot buffer, but all these nice blue streams should only have a 30-foot buffer. That's what they require when you go to get that construction permit. So you want a construction permit, they say, okay, if you're in this general area, you're gonna have to have a 60-foot buffer, and if you're in this general area, you only have to have a 30-foot buffer. Well, in some locations, these nice blue streams that we have, healthy streams, are gonna go down to a 30-foot buffer. So our concern is, well, how long is that stream really gonna maintain that health if we allow our stream buffers to basically disappear? Because you get down to 30 feet is not much. It's really not when you're talking a healthy stream buffer. Yeah, it's not much. So what I would like to do, that's what I kind of wanted to show you guys, like, the red streams would be the only streams that get the 60-foot buffer. So all these gray, all these blue, all of those would get a 30-foot. With what I'm proposing, I would like to incorporate either or. So I would like to keep our greater than 1 square mile 60-foot buffers, which are large watersheds. It's got a substantial watershed go into it, so it's a really, really big stream. And basically you have it read and or whichever is greater. So if you have an impaired stream, they would have a 60-foot buffer on it, even if it's a small stream, because they're gonna have to have a 60-foot buffer anyways, because TDEC requires them to have a construction buffer. Well, if you can't do construction in that buffer, then why not just make it a permanent buffer on the final plat and have a maintenance agreement that goes with it? Why not carry that to the end, and then we have jurisdiction over that? If I don't have it on a final plat, then it's really hard for me to enforce anything with it. I could say, well, TDEC says that, but I don't enforce it, TDEC does.
Well, have you proposed that to them?
Who?
TDEC? About what you just said, what you prefer to have?
I'm proposing it to you guys. Y'all will be the ones voting on it. You guys will be the ones voting on it. She's like, uh-oh, you got me there. And I mean, we have the legal authority to provide stream buffers. We can either keep our existing one or we can make it better. My goal is we should always try to make things better. Always try to make things better. So really, if we add the 30/60 based on impairment or not assessed, it really doesn't change a whole lot, because theoretically, TDEC shouldn't be allowing them to build there anyways. So have I really changed anything other than made it permanent? Okay. And given us jurisdiction over it. Okay. Then the other issue we had is, I don't know if y'all have been to some meetings with Mike lately or if he's talked about it, but we've had some floodway FEMA violation issues. Those are not good. Those are very, very difficult to remediate. And we are struggling with some violations right now that we're trying to get fixed. You would think that's be hard. Like, how does that happen? But it's not that difficult to get floodway violations. So the floodway is where, you have a flood plain where the water goes, and then where that water can be kind of smushed together, come up to a foot in a rise, that area becomes the floodway. And if you look at it on a FEMA map, it kind of looks like a candy cane. So we call it the candy cane stripe area, and that's where, you are not allowed to do any per FEMA. So FEMA, federal emergency, you are not allowed to have any encroachments, any cuts, any fills, anything in that area. So FEMA dedicates and dictates that we cannot have anything in there. If we accidentally allow it, if a builder accidentally turns around a track hoe and clears 10 feet of trees out of it, we can get a violation. If the tree guy that's coming through there and clearing the trees, if he gets off course and he clears 50 foot of trees in your floodway, and then they submit for a letter of map revision based on fill, and they see that, the county can get a violation on that. So I'm proposing that we also look at doing a 20-foot buffer on top of our established floodways per our zoning ordinance, which references our floodway ordinance. We just had to update our flooding ordinance, well, it comes under our zoning ordinance last year because we got new maps, we got new FEMA maps. Y'all think the stormwater program's difficult. FEMA's just a whole nother level of difficult. It very much is. But this will give me and Mike and our team a little bit of buffer. It'll give us just a little bit of breathing room. So if a contract were to accidentally get in that area, we wouldn't get a violation. And we can more easily protect those areas. That's why I'm bringing that to you. It's already mandated by FEMA that we cannot allow that. And we can't allow fill, we can't allow them to put a pond in it, we can't allow them to put anything like that in it anyways. But we're human, so mistakes happen, things happen, you know. But that just would give us a little bit of a buffer as we're reviewing plans, as contractors are in the field, or you have somebody come out and they stake it wrong. Well, if you're off by 10 feet and I got your 20-foot buffer in there, we're not going to get a violation. Which is good because if we get violations, we can get kicked out of the program and then nobody gets flood insurance in our county. So it's a very serious program. So my proposal to you guys is that it's kind of this or that or this, whichever's greater. And you can see that on the screen. It's basically where we started. We added the T-deck buffers and then we've added the floodway buffer. Like I said, we aren't voting on anything tonight. You know, you guys can bring it back at the next meeting and say, look, I had heartburn over this, or I think this is great. I want you guys to just take it, kind of think about it. But I wanted you to kind of understand where I was coming from, of why we would like to do these things. State regulations and federal regulations.
Okay, Sheila, I think it sounds great. How much pushback, if any, do you foresee from builders or individual homeowners? I mean, is it a big thing for them?
The only people that are going to push back are people that come to this meeting and the April-May meeting and give their comments. If they aren't here to comment, they don't get a vote. You guys can listen if people want to come next time and they are, pitchforks in the crowd and you guys are like, yeah, I don't think we need to do this. That's fine with me. But if they don't show up and they don't voice their concerns, and do they really get a vote? Like, this is America. You got to come out. You got to come out and be active and stuff. You've got to know what's going on in your community. And this will all be put on public notice. It'll be on our website. When we get to that process, it'll be out there for everybody to see. They're all public meetings. We do not do anything in secret. If anybody wants to come and talk about it, I'm willing to talk to them about it and why. We thought we'd get a lot of pushback on our new fees, and I really haven't heard much from anybody. So y'all can think about it, or you can even email me. You can email me. You don't have to talk about it in front of other people. Call me. I'm open to any discussions. Mike and I think this would be a very good adoption for our community and for our floodway and for flooding. I know this is a stormwater ordinance, but 90% of what I do every day deals with flooding, to be honest with you. Local flooding and floodway flooding, so.
I think mentioning the importance of the insurance portion of that floodway and why it's important to have that extra buffer.
Absolutely.
That program is a big deal.
It is a big deal. Yeah, if we can't fix the violations, if we have too many issues when they come in and do an audit, FEMA, it's probably about time we're due for an audit on top of everything else that we do. They will come in and tell you what you're doing wrong and what you're going to do to fix it. And if you don't, they can pull your insurance for your whole community, your flood insurance. We don't want that to happen. We want the best for our community.
Can I comment? Ms.?
Sure.
Human nature says that the people we're dealing with are going to push it to the limit. They're going to get as close as we will allow them.
Right.
So the more spread we require, the better we can do our streams, because they're going to go right to the limit.
Right.
And being on the Planning Commission, I've seen pictures of where drainways go through subdivisions and people are building fences and blocking them and doing all kinds of things and flooding their neighbors. Yes, even though this is against the law, you're not supposed to do it, they'll do it anyway.
And then we also have a neighboring community actually had some, I think they were either like condos, townhomes-ish, built right up to the floodway, and then what happened was the eaves went into the floodway. So you can get a violation even if the eave of your structure goes into the floodway. So once you do an as-built drawing, and that's what they submit to get. So they're submitting to FEMA to get a letter of map revision based on fill so that they don't have to pay flood insurance. So they say, I've raised my here's the base flood elevation. I've raised my property above that. I've built my new townhome, and my eaves stick over into the floodway. And now I'm going to submit all of this information showing FEMA that my new townhome is not in the floodway, so I don't have to pay flood insurance. That gets submitted, and then they look at it and they say, oh, no, you've got a violation. This is sticking into the floodway. Or you have fill in the floodway. Or you have your detention pond, the corner of your detention pond is sitting in the floodway based on your as-bills. You can get a violation. It's very picky, very picky. Yeah, and it can get expensive. Okay, so let's see, the ordinance, like I said, that's really the only changes I have for the stream buffer. Let's see, if you guys have, let's see, our ordinance. So I know I'm open also to having a working session if you guys want to do that. MTask is sending out our model ordinance either this week or next. So, so basically what I've done is just put our water quality requirements based on the permit into ours. And then I'll go back and revise it based on kind of what MTask sends out. Some of it was just kind of new language, new definitions. The biggest change is the water treatment volume. So they've got a new spreadsheet of how that's to be done. So that's what we're required to adopt. And before we did, I think it's 1.25 inches and 80% TSS removal. Well, that simple thing has become a whole spreadsheet, and how you're going to use this. So if you want to use infiltration, which is green infrastructure, LID, y'all have heard of that probably. If you want to use that, then you still get to use the 1 inch. That's actually would be less than what they're using right now for us because we use 1.25. There you can use biologically active filtration with an underdrain. So those are like the biocells, systems that have plants and things in it to help it absorb the pollutants out. They'll be using the 1.25, which is what they currently would have been using per our existing ordinances. The other next option was sand and gravel filtration, settling ponds, extended detention ponds, and wet ponds. That's typically what we see. Well, now they're going to be having to use the first 2.5 inches of the design storm or the 75% of the design storm, whichever is less. So they can no longer just calculate it based off the 1.25 inches anymore. So that's going to make that increase substantially. They've actually decided there's a hydrodynamic separator, so if you're going to use that for your 80% TS removal, baffle boxes, settling, manufactured treatment devices. I don't know if you guys ever talked a whole lot about that. There's all kinds of those made. Some of them are centrifugal, where they're just big, giant, round devices where the water goes down and the solids settle out. There's some that are like baffle boxes, so they look a little bit more like a grease trap, where you have the baffle boxes in it, and it's like rectangular baffles in between, and the water kind of slowly goes over that, and the solids settle out. Some of them have trash chutes in them. Some of them have filters in them, biological filters, sand filters. There's a ton of manufactured treatment devices out there. So they are regulating those and what they should do and what flow that they're supposed to use for that. So they've said you're supposed to use the maximum runoff generated from the entire design storm, and they've set the design storm. In the past, TDEC did not do that. So I just basically took what was in the permit and put it into ours. And then we'll see where we land with the model ordinance and what other changes I need to make. But that's pretty much the biggest change for our ordinance is going to be that, which is a post-construction and the plans review side of what they're supposed to be submitting to us. So, but I think with this, we'll also have to update our some of our subregs, Marvin. So I'll be bringing stuff through Public Works and Planning Commission also when we get there. So, but we should be ahead of the curve. So I think, for now, that's probably more than you guys want to know. It's very complicated and confusing, so don't worry too much about it. We'll be fine. Eventually, we'll all get there, right? Do y'all have any questions about that? Did y'all read anything or see anything that you looked at that was disturbing or problem? Like our ordinance referenced the flood, the buffer zone policy, so those have to match and they have to reference each other. I just went ahead and put them in here. Like whatever we decide, I'll have to go back and fix it to match. We already require as-built, so I didn't have to change that. That's already in there. We already require long-term maintenance agreements. I don't have to change anything with that. I may look at updating our enforcement response plan, but I don't have that ready yet. The list of discharges, that didn't really change anything. Do you have any questions?
I see none.
That's it.
Sheila. Bylaws,
Okay,
number
so,
12.
all right. That's why I should have put the other ones in red. I'm sorry I didn't do that. Next time I will have everything with the red markups on it. Makes it a lot easier for you guys. So bylaws. We kind of just looked at what you guys had talked about last time was, I don't think we would get in trouble for doing anything wrong unless somebody says, hey, you guys aren't following your committee bylaws. So I really think we need to follow whatever our bylaws say. We don't have to kick people off the committee after 4 years. We can make it whatever works for you guys. So what we had requested was maybe we broaden the scope of who can be on the committee because it was very specific. maybe we could say the members, shall be for 2 years with one-time reappointment being allowed. This allows for up to 8 years before rotating out the committee. We can also say appointed members shall be 2 years with unlimited reappointments being allowed. So even if you go through your 8 years and you say, well, I'd like to continue to serve, you can. And if you say, well, I mean, I've had a couple of people last time say, I just don't have time for this, I can't do this anymore, or we have some awesome retired people and some people retiring, and if they're wanting to travel and they may or may not be around, they're going to tell me, Ms. Sheila, I can't do this anymore, and that's okay. We have a process, and the mayor will appoint new people, and it's totally okay. I just want us to be doing what the bylaws say. So if we do unlimited reappointments, then basically Phyllis or Ben would keep up with, okay, this is your reappointment, this is how long you've been here, and now would you be okay with being reappointed? And you would just say, sure, yeah, I'm in, or no, I'm out. So that's what we were just trying to make it, where we actually have a lot of flexibility with how we've rewritten it, honestly. So if you really want to serve and you want to continue to serve, then I think this helps us with that. And if you want to roll off, then you got to wait at least a year before you say, I won't back on. Y'all have questions about that? Did y'all already look at this and kind of say, or no, yet? No. Marvin, have you been on the committee the longest? Miss Diane, were you here from way back?
Mayor Burgess appointed me, asked me to do it.
Ms. Deal was on the committee as well when I came on. No, who knows how long people have been on? Okay.
Microphone. We can't hear you.
On it when we first started having the committee meetings after the first ordinance was done. So that's been between 15 and 20 years. So I think she gets the vote for the longest time.
But what we could do is we can, if y'all want to adopt this tonight, we can say basically like everybody's terms start right now. And then, you guys can just, it's kind of up to you. Just let me know if you would like to stick around or if you have other plans. Or if you know people who aren't here and you're like, well, I know that person doesn't want to do this anymore. We can find other people. I had a couple other people that wanted to do it. So it's not a problem.
Okay, Sheila, does it mention in here how we changed the bylaws?
Phyllis, can you help us with that?
It's further down in this document. I apologize.
Okay.
I didn't bring a paper one. But we did give the adequate notice of changes that we wanted to make changes or suggest changes to it. And we have a quorum so that if you voted on it. So we would just need to know basically if you wanted to change anything else, if you wanted to pick one of the options that were in red. And the other thing in there is it used to require specific representation, which is hard to know, to get people with sometimes. So we made a list of some of the people who were represented, but there's no requirement if we don't have a civil engineer for 2 years or 4 years. We would just want to have several off of that list on the, represented.
So right there where it says B or B, Like, you kind of need to pick one of those. One of them is you're only here for 8 years and you roll off. The other one is you have 2-year appointment with unlimited reappointments, right? Is that? Yeah. And then E, where it says membership of the committee shall be represented by the following, but may not include all. So that gives us some opportunities for other people of the community that might want to be. They don't fall under this. They're just, just an avid person who's interested in stormwater and wants to get involved. They don't necessarily have to meet a specific.
Pretty wide
Whatever.
list, though. That's a pretty wide.
It is pretty wide, but, sometimes you just have people from the community that want to be involved, and they don't necessarily fall into this category.
Do we want to vote on this tonight? Do we have an opinion? Do we? What is your pleasure?
Okay, I'm still confused about E. Members on the committee shall be representative of the following, but may not include all. What do you mean by that?
So before, it was very specific, like we had to have was it like a member from the soil conservation, a member from agriculture, a member
Right,
from a
okay.
civic group. We've listed what they were before, but we've also added kind of like, I think it just said like developer, so we added civil engineer / landscape architect / educator. So it can be people from that list. That's what we would like to find, but if not, then we could also bring them into the group.
Okay, but it's the wording, but may not include all. What you meant was, but it doesn't have to be, but must not be, or something. It's the wording that's
Okay,
confusing me.
but
I'm
does
sorry.
not have to include all. How about that?
Yes, okay.
Does that make more
Or
sense?
does not have to be this specific or something. Okay.
Wow, this. Email, okay. I can write, we can make notes on it, and then you guys want to make a motion, you just say, as edited discussion.
And does it also include anywhere for electronic voting? Recalled and later electronic voting?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Want to have it say, members of the commission are representative of the following, but does not, what do they want to say? Does not require all? Or does not include all, does not require all. How about that?
I think that's clear. It's clearer to me.
Okay, all right. But does not, and it's in my email, so it's not gonna wanna edit, right? But I always save it though. Is that correct? How would we say, but is not limited to all? How about that? about that?
I like that much better.
Okay. And then the other options are the A, the B, or the B. So B, the second B
Or
says the
B2.
terms of appointed members shall be 2 years with unlimited reappointments. Or the top part says the terms of appointed members shall be 4 2-year, is it 4 2-year terms? I think that's what it's supposed to say.
Right now, it says 2 years. I put the 4 in there in red in case you wanted to change it to 4 years. It'd just be 2 appointments,
Right.
4 years.
So it would say, this allows for up to 8 years before rotating off the committee. So we would have to start now, and then we would have to keep up with it. The only bad thing of that is if you start now, then that means everybody rolls off at the same time, which is pretty terrifying.
I don't think that will happen. Question, do we have, how difficult is it to get people to serve on this committee?
I don't think it's that difficult. It's 1 meeting a year, maybe 2. So it's not that difficult. But I just thought the second B, the terms of appointment shall be 2 years with unlimited reappointments. That gives you guys the opportunity in 2 years to say, I'm traveling, see you bye. Or, man, I love serving, keep me on. You know, I love that you guys have been here for so long and want to continue to serve. So I don't want it to just be like 2 years and you're done. I like the idea of having the unlimited reappointments being allowed. Josh is like, I like the idea of being gone in 2 years. Look at him grinning. I was thinking the opposite. Oh, yay.
I think it makes it easier for it to have unlimited reappointments. But does that mean that electing Delia president, we're actually violating the bylaws?
No, why? I mean, what do you mean?
Well, 8 years and then you're off?
Well, the terms would start like right now. So she would get another 8 years. You guys would all get another 8 years.
I understand that, but I mean, in the past, we've not followed this.
Yeah, we're like starting fresh.
Okay, got it.
Do we have a motion? And which one of the Bs do you like the best? And I guess that would be the motion.
Yeah, I don't need a motion yet. I just need to know which one y'all like.
Oh.
And then we'll adopt it as I've amended it. So you tell me how you want me to amend it.
We'll need a motion to do that or no? Okay.
I like the second
We
B.
don't need a motion.
Second B? All right. I think we're pretty informal enough here. We can all say.
B2.
Like the second B? All
You all
right.
right with that, Josh?
Boom. It's gone. All right. So everybody has a 2-year term, starting now. And we have 8 members. The mayor is the one who appoints them. Yeah, I don't see any issues. It just gives us a little more flexibility. And that's what I really wanted for you guys. When I first brought it up, everybody was kind of like a little frustrated with me, and I was trying to figure out a way to be more flexible and have you guys understand how appreciative I am of the work you do. Okay, so now I just need a motion to adopt the bylaws as amended on the screen, as we've amended or discussed.
All right, who's going to step up and make that motion for us? Josh?
I'll make a motion to adopt the bylaws as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second? Jennifer?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we adopt the bylaws as amended. Is there any further discussion? If not, those who favor the motion as amended, or the bylaws as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. So, is that all we need on that, Ms. Sheila?
Yes.
All right, new business. Have new business?
Phyllis, did we have new business? Help me out. I've got so much going on.
I don't think we have any new business other than just be aware that there may be one of the working groups, once Sheila gets the model ordinance, which people could or could not participate in, and then we'll have to have a special called meeting. The chair or the vice chair would have to do that next spring to get it moving through the approval process, where it has to go through the commission.
Anybody else know of any business we need to bring before the group? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn
Thank you, ma'am.
the
Is there a second?
2023 Stormwater meeting.
Do we need, let's hold that just a second. Do we need to set a date for next year before we do that? No?
September 10th.
It's already set, so motion is in order. Is there a second? Go ahead, Josh. You can second.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded that we adjourn. Those who favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.